Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive, and welcome to Divinely Decked Tarot and Oracle Reviews done Stacy style. And today, apparently Mr. Neo is joining us, and we are going to be doing another VR video. So excited about this one. This one is called My Tarot Identity, and I have watched several of these because I've really enjoyed this. So it is an homage to Carrie's Mystical Musings. I've also watched Mermaid Dreams Tarot. I've watched Tarot for Tired People, which was a really good one too. I enjoyed that one a lot. And at Aaron Lento. I think I've watched one other. I'm going to have to look up their at sign, their handle, in order to be able to share that. But today I am throwing my hat in the ring for this. And again, I have enjoyed every single one of these videos. This particular tag is my jam. So I just have to say thank you to Carrie's Mystical Musings for coming up with this, because it's my language. I just love it. And yeah, I enjoyed picking these out. So the first one is Outward Aesthetic Home Decor. So this is my Outward Aesthetic and my Home Decor, a deck that represents that. We're going with the Chromatic Fates Tarot. I have shared this a lot on my channel up to this point. I'll just kind of not speed through it, but, I'll work my way through it fast. But this one, it has all the elements of me. I'm all about color. There's a little bejewel bedazzle on here. I like the dark. I prefer cards that have a dark cardstock rather than a light cardstock. There are so many different beautiful images in this. There's gold in every single color. Now, I'm actually a silver girl, but I'll take, any kind of bejewel bedazzle works for me. I absolutely love that they use all of the different colors of the rainbow throughout this. This is a collaborative deck. So each individual that is in this, that has an individual artist that has created one of these cards, I feel really sings my soul song, speaks my language. I love that each of the depictions are reflective of a different aspect of me. For example, this Ace of Cups might be my absolute favorite Ace of Cups of all time. I love that it's being represented by a black swan. Many of you do not know this about me, but I used to sing opera for a living. It's my background. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But one of my favorite songs to sing ever was "Oh Black Swan." I also, I equate the black swan with, or I equate the swan, I should say, with starseed, and I identify as a starseed. So, like every image in here represents an aspect of my soul. And I love a little bit of modern artistry. That tends to be my jam. So whenever there is a more modern approach to the artwork, I'm a happy girl. She's just gorgeous. The Page of Wands, Four of Coins. I also love that every card is its own unique storyline. Sometimes with a collaborative deck, it can be hit or miss because and I've said this before, the deck can lose its flow, right? It can be too choppy when you've got so many different artists with their own images and depictions and ideas of what the deck is supposed to be like. But this deck just doesn't disappoint. Every single card speaks to me and speaks to me in really powerful ways. Also, this deck has a couple of wine references, which of course is right up my alley. I'm like, look, check out this High Priestess. So we don't often see the High Priestess depicted in green. Green is the heart, and I love this because usually we see it in blue. High Priestess is the oracle, so she's a bit detached, but there's always heart in what she does. Anybody who is a channel like that has to have heart, has to come from the heart. Their heart needs to be, I want to say, in good working order in order to be able to receive all of the messaging and the guidance that comes through. And so I love that particular depiction because often the High Priestess, I feel like she gets a bad rap for being, really secretive. Oh, here's my favorite strength card, I think, of all time. There might be one other one, another strength card that I love equally as much, or pretty close. Um, the devil card. Who would ever thought that a devil would be depicted in pink, right? Self-love, self-care, unconditional love. There's a lot that we can read into that. Everything about this deck makes me happy and sings my song. So, oh, here's a wine one. 9 of coins. Love that. So she's sitting and resting and enjoying a glass of wine. And that's exactly how I feel in general about life. So this is definitely, I would say, my outward aesthetic, the way that I dress, the way that I feel about life, how I approach life. My house is purples and teals and blues, and it is highlighted all in silvers, golds, and coppers. So this really fits my my decor. The only thing that I would say that is a little bit off my decor with this box is that it is based in brown. It's got kind of like a brown background rather than a black background. And there's really not a whole lot brown about me. It's mostly the black energy. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty close. We even have leaves here, and leaves sometimes look like feathers. So there's the black feather intuitive. So yeah, this is definitely my aesthetic, which I love. Okay, the next one is hidden or guilty pleasure aesthetic. So I wasn't 100% sure how to kind of approach this one for myself. So what I figured I would do is show you one of the decks that I absolutely love and adore. I can't explain it to you other than to say that I get excited to connect with the imagery. The imagery really speaks to me. I love that she's a little darker, and a lot of the cards, the imagery is darker in this deck. So this is the Queen Maeve Oracle, Tess Whitehurst. And some of these cards I might have to flip through fairly quickly, just because there's some nudity in it. And, you guys feel my pain on that YouTube is not always a fan of nudity. So here we have Venus in the sky. I mean, when you see this imagery, like these are my colors. This is my jam. It's darker. It's kind of like, she has embers in her hands here. I feel almost like when I connect with this deck, it's almost like who I wish I could be, maybe. And maybe that's why I chose it. Like it's hidden or it's a guilty pleasure. I could have also gone the funny route and chosen a couple of humorous decks to show you that side of me. But this is the one that I feel is, kind of a guilty pleasure in a lot of ways, because it is on the darker side. And I try to live, mostly in the light. But, I always like to say I'm love and light with a little bit of fuck you in there. And I also recognize the significance and the importance of shadow work. And inviting the shadow in, and understanding that we don't need to cut ego out. We need to invite ego in. We need to bring ego into balance and to not judge ourselves, for having desires, thank you, Fuzz, for having desires, for, I want to say, not making mistakes, but for just making life choices that maybe other people don't understand, maybe goes against the grain. This dive into the fire makes me super happy. This is the Phoenix energy. And, I just look at these cards and I think they are absolutely so beautiful. And I'm going to say to you, I have a wonderful I've been blessed in my life to have a number of friends who identify as lesbian. And they're always trying to say to me, you love the female figure. There's got to be something in there. They're always trying to convert me. And I laugh all the time. I'm like, it's not true. I love the female form. I think the female form is absolutely gorgeous. For me personally, it doesn't do anything for me in terms of, a sexual component to things, but I absolutely can admire beautiful, beautiful women. And so I would say this is kind of that guilty pleasure energy that I just get a lot out of this deck. I love the artwork in this deck. I love the messaging in this deck. I love that it shows the dark and the light, and it shows it in a way that doesn't glorify it, but I want to say invites it in a way that we all, I feel, can really benefit from inviting that component of ourselves or that part of ourselves into our own lives. Love, lend me wings. And this is it's unabashed. I mean, it's a fairy deck, right? So the fae are, think Tinkerbell, feisty, pull no punches. Don't mess with me. And there's a part of me that I feel that a lot, and I don't always advocate for myself in those ways. And so I would say this is a guilty pleasure because it also allows me to borrow some of the beauty and the confidence and the the Yiddish chutzpah, like they have sass, and they believe in themselves. And whenever I'm working with this deck, I would say it's a guilty pleasure because often it's what I don't feel that I wish I could feel about myself. So yeah, the Queen Maeve Oracle, Tess Whitehurst knocked it out of the park, which I think is fantastic. Okay, our next prompt is a personal match. So I took this to be like what deck matches like all of you, like the basics of you. And I've shown this a lot on my channel as well. So I won't take too long with it, but this is the Tarot of the Sacred Kingdoms. This deck makes me so freaking happy. I can't even tell you. I love the ornateness of and the colors in the backs of the cards. I love that it's on a dark background. It is gilded. It's not gilded on the edges, but the border here is this beautiful aqua color, which is totally my jam. The imagery here, this, it speaks to me. It sings me. The colors that they use are amazing. Like, I've shown this so much, like this is my favorite Page of Cups of all time. Here's a beautiful Eight of Swords. Like when I connect to this deck really shows me from that reflectionary energy what I find to be beautiful, even in the darkness, even in, at my worst times or in my biggest challenges. Like I love this Judgment card. You see the flowers and like everything about it. I feel like this deck really matches a lot of how I feel about things on the inside. And, I'm a pretty open person. Like I just did a video recently where I just kind of shared that like I'm an oversharer and I understand this about myself, but that it's been a journey for me to be able to give myself permission to have moments that are just for me. And this deck, and these cards, these images, I feel of any of the decks, and you guys know I have a lot and I love decks. This deck, I feel like kind of really speaks to me about who I feel I am on the inside, whether I show it or not. This deck also demonstrates how other people see me and how I've adapted to that, but also those images where people think they know me, but they don't, because I'm learning to kind of pull back on that, or to maybe not share that with just anybody. And so this deck, like when I work with this deck, and if you were to work with this deck, the energy that comes through it definitely feels more like it's aligned with me, with my thoughts, my feelings, my emotional state, my experiences, more so than any other deck that I have. And they have 2 extra cards, or maybe 3 in this. I can't remember now, 2 or 3. There's the Celestial Weaver. We've got the Phoenix. And of course, I identify with the Phoenix. I am the Phoenix embodied. So this deck also happened to put that in as an extra card. You know what I mean? And I got this deck off of a Kickstarter campaign, not knowing that there were going to be extra cards or anything like that. So the fact that showed up was just like bang on, it just kind of blew my mind. Even this 6 of Cups, like Six of Cups is a card that I struggle with a little bit. I find it challenging to kind of connect with it. And this one makes sense to me, looking in the mirror, but looking behind you a little bit. And, this is also very theatrical. And I absolutely love that because that's a big part of me too. Look at this world. Like, I love all the reds in it. I am a theatrical person. My family often has referred to me in the past as dramatic. Now, that's a little sore spot for me because I'm not necessarily dramatic in life, but I definitely come from, a drama background and, singing and all that kind of stuff. So I can't totally say it's not true. There's an ounce of truth. Just don't use it in a derogatory way. Don't use it to dismiss me, because I feel what I feel. And it takes a lot for me to say how I feel, right? So don't dismiss me when I come up. I love this sun card, the little boy, whether this is father and son or this is your inner child, versus you, and creating that sun energy and like the genie coming out, using your own power. Like, I just love everything about it. I love that the Hierophant here is a woman. 9 of Wands. I mean, we saw the Hermit card already, but this could be the Hermit card. So yeah, this deck definitely is like what do they call it? The personal match. And I would say the perfect match to kind of highlight me. Fun fact or unique aspect. Okay, so I could have gone with a couple of different ones here, but I decided to go with Oracle of Visions from Ciro Marchetti. And so the reason why I chose this, because it's like fun fact and unique. And I did kind of talk about this actually in another video, but I'll go into it a little bit more in depth. So I am a trained opera singer. I started singing when I was like 15 or 16, and very quickly getting involved in it, I very much fell in love with opera. I fell in love with classical music, in true Stacey style, like it's go big or go home for me, and so I was like, okay, my sister was very much involved in Broadway, has a really powerful Broadway voice. She's an alto. She's actually technically a mezzo soprano, but she sang a lot of alto roles. She's excellent with harmonies. And I was like soprano all the way. Spinto soprano, big, heavy soprano voice, lyrical. And I just decided in that moment that I was going to master it. I was going to kind of go all the way. And that was my big dream. And I spent a summer, I auditioned for and received a role as Donn'Anna in Mozart's Don Giovanni in 2002. And this was we performed in Rome and Verona. And it was an incredible 2.5 months. I also, after the opera portion was done, I had 3 weeks to travel around. And one of the places, obviously I wanted to do as much of Italy as I could. And I absolutely had to stop in Venice. And so I had an incredible time when I was there. I would say to you, I enjoyed Venice. I had some really incredible musical experiences there, just as an observer, not as a performer in Venice in particular, but as an observer. And so I have fond memories of it. I called her my roomie from Rome. Elisa was her name. She was a beautiful singer, a beautiful person, just gorgeous. And she and I spent some time together in Venice as well, and really had a lot of fun. So fond memories. And when I am working with the Oracle of Visions, first of all, I love it because it's a deck that beats to the tune of its own drum, which I am all about. But it also reminds me of that summer that I spent in Italy, especially, specifically in Venice, but especially just in Italy in general. And also allows me to do a little bit of shadow work. Whenever I work with this deck, I'm going to tell you, with my singing career, I could have absolutely gone all the way. I didn't realize until I had kind of given up on myself how good I really was. I found out, sort of after the fact. And by the time I recognized that, I had kind of lost the taste for it and I had moved on. And, life happens while you're busy making plans and all that fun stuff. But the Oracle of Visions, when I work with it, it allows me to face my past and face my choices in a way that is honest, but I want to say a little more, not lighthearted, but like not so serious. Like there's drama here, right? Like there is drama in these. The way that everything is presented, it's a little bit over the top, and somehow that allows me to kind of do that shadow work and to not feel burdened by the memories or my choices, and to have a deeper compassion for who I was and where I was at on an emotional and an energetic level at this time. So yeah, the Oracle of Visions is definitely, I would say, fun fact or unique aspect. All right, now we have, alter ego. Yes. So there were a couple that I could have chosen with this one too, but I decided to go, it's a little on the nose, but I decided to go with the Disney Villains deck. And here's why. So as I said to you, trained opera singer, I haven't sung in a number of years now. I did jazz. I performed jazz for, 8 years in a number of different jazz bands and things of that nature. Absolutely loved music and singing, but really absolutely just love the theater, love acting. And as a soprano, and like a lead soprano, you tend to typically be the ingenue. You're the love interest. And so you get to sing a lot of ballads. And from an opera perspective, most of the time you're, in that old paradigm of chasing the man or pining after the man or hoping that the man's going to take notice of you and not run away with your sister or your best friend or your chambermaid or whatever the case may be. And so to be perfectly honest, while the music can be really inspiring and beautiful to sing and to channel and to have that come through you, the characters after a while, quite frankly, are boring to play. So when I kind of pulled away from opera and singing and went more so into, kind of back on the boards and Shakespeare and, different plays and things of that nature, I started to branch out and discovered that I loved playing the villain. And I didn't get cast as the villain often. But when I did, did I relish it. And so when this question came up, I thought, this has got to be it. Even though it's a little on the nose, that's kind of the story behind it. Is even though this is a bit of a fluff deck, kind of lighthearted, you have to sort of know a lot of the Disney stuff to understand why each character is put on the card. And I don't always know that. I just go based on either the system of tarot or, just tapping into my intuition. But I will say, when I do enjoy working with this deck, and when I do work with it, like this one, Ursula, I love that, the Sea Witch. When I do work with it, I really relish in, tapping into that quirkier, darker side of me. What would I do if I didn't have to ask permission, or if there were no consequences, to my actions, to my choices. I'm just thinking about something. It's been a week from hell that in the week that I'm recording this. Sorry, I have a cat hair in my mouth, and I had to, have a bit of a confrontation with someone who, was kind of an uncomfortable situation, but it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to be bullied anymore. I don't care whether you like it or not. I feel very strongly that I'm in the right here. I'm justified here. I have proof. I've got the receipts. And I'm just not, feeling really like I want to play what's the word? The mediator. I tend to be the person that says, okay, you know what, my bad, sorry, I probably screwed up. I'll take shit that isn't mine. And I didn't do that this time. And so when this came up in the VR, I thought about it today, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's villains. It's fun to play a villain. it's also important to recognize where we have those villainous thoughts and where those villainous thoughts are actually, quite frankly, very human and, kind of a natural part of our, our life here, our choices. And, that where can you find the good in the villain? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can, but I think it's important for each of us to not be afraid to tap into that from time to time. So yeah, that is my alter ego. I also had thought about maybe pulling a card that would be like or a deck that would be like my superhero, like what tarot deck would represent my superhero, but I decided to go with villains instead because I thought that would just be a good story. All right, here we have How I Am as a Bestie. So I decided to go with Lisa Lister's Self-Sorcery deck. And, I tend to be a pretty colorful person. I am all about experience and VIP. I love to show my love for others through food. I am a quality time person. I love great conversation, sitting and talking and listening to people, having really cool experiences that you can talk about afterwards. And I'm all about empowerment. I want to empower everyone, especially my friends, because, as we know, when we have chosen family, we choose that family because it does really represent who we are on the day to day. It's not necessarily who we are from an original family perspective. That's a different viewpoint, different aspects of ourselves. But the people that you choose to hang out with on a day-to-day basis really reflect who you are and who you're becoming. And so this deck is all about empowerment. I love the bright, bold colors. These are some of the colors that I wear, kind of out and about in the world when I'm getting ready. But this deck is also very down to earth and pull no punches, kind of no bullshit. And that really represents me. Like, I'm not gonna, I'm gonna call it like I see it. I might call it like I see it with some gentleness, do it with love, but I'm definitely gonna point it out. If you're asking me for my advice or my guidance, or you just need some support and love, I'm going to bring all of that to you. So yeah, I feel like I don't think I'm overstepping to pick this as the deck that kind of represents who I am as a bestie, as a friend. I really try to be there for others. I try to brighten everybody's day as much as I can. I also really just try to be very authentic. Well, I don't try. I just am. I can't be anything other than who I am. I used to be that way when I was younger, trying to please people all the time, trying to not make waves. And, I'm just going to say, ain't nobody got time for that shit. I just don't have the energy anymore. So that is the Self-Sorcery Oracle from Lisa Lister, How I Am or Who I Am as a Bestie. This is favorite place to live or dream vacation. Okay, so I could have picked a couple things here, and I'm just going to say to you guys, I live in my dream location. If you're new to me, if you're not, sorry, you've heard this all before, but if you're new to me, I recently moved to Phoenix, Arizona. This has been a dream of mine for 20 plus years, to move out here. From the time I set foot on desert soil, it called to me, it connected with me, it felt like home. And so I live in my dream location. So then I thought, okay, dream vacation. And I've done a lot of traveling. I guess my dream vacation would be, to Egypt on some kind of spiritual retreat. But what I decided to really go with here is the starseed angle with me, which my dream vacation, or where I would like to live if I wasn't living in Arizona, would be Unveiling the Golden Age, a visionary tarot experience by Izzy Ivy. And it's very galactic. And this is kind of how I feel myself. I feel not of this earth. I feel very, kind of out of place here. And when I look at these cards, it's the colors that make me feel like this deck sees my aura, sees into my soul. that this deck kind of unlocks or goes into the deeper layers of me. It's like it sees me and knows me under the meat suit, right? If I were to unzip my meat suit, this is kind of where things would be. So I would say to you, this is where I imagine things a lot, when I am visioning things in my mind's eye and I'm going deep. These are kind of the colors that I see. These are the sort of the experiences that I have. There's a frequency and a vibrancy that comes off of these cards that just really speaks to me. And I believe Izzy Ivy did this based on, I don't know if this is Lemurian or Atlantean. I can't remember what she says now. And she has Beyond Lemuria. And she has a lot of these kind of galactic cards. For me, I definitely have had connections to Atlantis for a really long time. I don't always feel a connection to Lemuria in the ways that a lot of other people do. And yet there was something about this deck that called to me. It speaks to me. So like, this is one of my favorites here. 7 of light codes. Light codes is wands in this deck. And I mean, when you just look at the imagery, there's a beautiful dragonfly. You have a lot of prismatic, sacred geometry images here. We've got chakra colors, the blue, the red, the green. Watch out, Fuzz. A better door than a window. Thank you. Nobody wants to see your bum. Thank you. So it's a decent blend of heaven and earth. Reminds me of, I want to say, sort of like my journey here, why I'm here, Phoenix of the White Fire. Just the energy of this always feels really good. So, I'm going to say, if I have to live here on planet Earth, I'm very happy to live in the desert. And this is the space where I go to in my meditations to dream. This feels, I would say, like a little closer to home for me, or the frequency of what I feel connected to home is. So yeah, that is the Unveiling the Golden Age. And apparently Mr. Neo just really has to be all up in our business. Thank you so much. Okay. And the next prompt is, creative style. So this could have been a number of ones too, but I decided to go with something that was kind of like an all around. And so this is the El Qui Oracle by Melanie Delon and Arwen Lynch Poe. I have a couple of decks from them. This is the one that I resonate with 150% all the time. You can see that it's got a lot of love because it's a little bit worn out. I've been using this deck for quite some time, and I can't remember. We'll just take a peek and see when it. So 2019 is when it came out, and I got it the year that it came out. It's a US Games. And again, it's beautiful women and just incredible imagery. And I feel like when I use this deck, when you're asking about like my creative style, maybe it could be a little bit bolder colors and then it would be like spot on. But the fact that it's like, you've got some realism here, there are feathers, the writing that is used is right up my alley. They have haunting expressions. They look right into your soul when you're looking at them. It's not a goddess deck, and yet it feels very much like it's connected to a goddess deck. It's very creative in its approach. She who hesitates, Mora, ponder, delay, and confidence. And here you've got the wind blowing, right? The wind is blowing all over. She's, kind of like trying to keep her hair from blowing. She's trying to not feel cold because she's got, open shoulders here. Does she have confidence? Is there a delay that's happening? Is the wind causing the delay? Like, I feel like the imagery and the way everything is framed is very creative. And it gets those creative juices flowing. I love the colors in this. Of course, I love this. This is very Phoenix energy. Eterna, metamorphosis, transcend, journey, she who becomes. This could have also very easily been the Sacred Creators deck from Chris Ann. I've shown that so many times on my channel, so I decided to go with something a little bit different. But if you're asking about like my actual creative style and what my creative style looks like, this is it. Flowy things, beautiful, pretty gowns, pretty colors, animals involved, interesting backdrops, again, a little bit of drama. We've got, a person that's featured. So I love a good theme. So anything that is thematic, I feel like with each of these cards and each of these women that are represented, the woman introduces the theme or inspires the theme of the card. And I love that because I always love to build something around a theme. Even this, where there isn't a ton of color in it, she's well put together. It's very thoughtful the way everything sort of flows. I felt like this would be a kind of a good deck to explain my sort of creativity, my creative style. I love all the dresses, the gowns, the long flowing hair, the animals that we've got in the cards here. Also, you got some badasses in here, badass warrior energy, Iris and Isis coming in. So yeah, this definitely, it inspires me, but it also is, I feel like, the way I create. There is perfectionism in each one of these pictures, and not to say that each of the women in these pictures is perfect. I feel like it represents the perfectly imperfect energy, and that's what we need to celebrate. So yeah, so I chose this one for that sort of creative style. But I will also just super quick, just because it's within reaching distance, the Sacred Creators Oracle from Chris Ann. These are my colors. This is sort of my, I want to say, like my verbal style, verbal communication energy here. It's simple, in your face, packs a punch. What she writes on these cards or about these cards, her writing style fits my writing style. It's empowering, but it also is like, okay, like get to the heart of it and let's really like cut the cords of doubt. Boom. There's your answer. So when you ask the question, okay, what do I need to know today for my highest and best? Cut the cords of doubt and you'll be a lot happier. Change maker, make waves. Don't forget who you are. You're an agent of change. Now, what do you need to do today? Ambush fear with your ferocious dream. Okay, so I need to focus on my dream today. Don't get distracted. The distraction of shiny things. The edge of evolution feels messy. So whenever I am in a creative flow or creative mood or in a kind of a creative block, I pull this deck out and it kind of shakes things up. But the deck itself definitely could represent my style of things, because it is creative and it's super colorful and it's kind of right to the heart of it. Okay. Now we have landscape, the landscape in my dreams or of my dreams. And that is, I want to make sure I've got the right one here. Yes, that's the Four Tails Tarot. So I've also featured this on my channel before, but when we're talking about like a dreamscape, I gotta tell you guys, like I have pretty wicked dreams from time to time. Like I have all sorts of different types of dreams. Sometimes I have dreams where I am definitely traveling and healing and fixing other people. I have dreams where I'm on a completely different planet, but I'm still myself and I'm connecting with people that I know, and there's information exchange and all sorts of things. Like it's batshit crazy how it comes through. I also have dreams where I say it's Hunger Games meets Star Trek. It's like you're running for your life and trying to figure out what is, sort of transpiring. That's Cat knocking down my my book. And the Four Tails Tarot is a really great description of how my dreams can be, because it's 4 different styles of the major arcana. all mixed into one solid deck. And I thought that's perfect because in any one given night, depending on where my sleep cycle and dream cycle is, because I do a lot of, divining and psychic stuff at night too, when I'm sleeping, or I should say my guides see fit to create that in me. I can have four different styles. I can have four different dreams. Some are, lush and wonderful and balanced and pleasant. And, oh, I want to do that again. And others are like this, where, okay, yeah, I just walked through a maze of bodies in my dream and they were mangled and tortured. And I now have to, kind of figure out what the message behind all of that is. Here we have an emperor who is enlightened. And then, there are other emperors in this deck where they are a little on the mean side. Here we have the black and white. Sometimes I do dream in black and white. Most times I dream in color. But I do dream in black and white. And, I was watching, I think it was Mermaid Dreams Tarot, her video where she was talking about how her dreams are just always off the hook. And I've totally related to her in that regard because, I love dreams like this, where it's a vision and I wake up and I know the path that I'm going to take and I know how it's all going to turn out. And yay, like it's all fun. It's all sunshine and daisies, wine and roses. But I also know what it's like to, again, be running for your life in an arena or on a planet that you've never seen before. And you don't really know where you're going or what you're doing. And you just kind of show up there. And, from a self-awareness perspective, we know that all of our dreams have a message, have some level of purpose in them. And a lot of things are not going to be sensical, not going to make a ton of sense on that physical level, but on that emotional or that energetic level, it's important to connect to the messaging. So yeah, I thought this would be just like the perfect way to kind of describe my dreams because, I could have a dream about the same person 4 different times in 4 different ways and get 4 completely different messages or feelings about the dream, or even like purpose that the dream holds. Some of my dreams are prophetic. Some of my dreams are more healing in nature. Some of my dreams, I feel like I'm passing on messaging or information in some capacity. And so it's a job, right? Like it's, I'm getting information from one place to another. So yeah, that's why I chose the Four Tails Tarot, to describe my dream landscape. And I feel it's a pretty accurate depiction of that. All right, so Neo knocked over my book here. Let me just see what I've got. Okay. The second to last one is current mood, energy, or season of life. And this one was kind of a fun one to pull out. I chose the Artist Decoded Tarot. And, it took me a while to kind of figure out which one this was going to be because, current mood, sure, it's easy to go with current mood. My mood changes, from day to day. So like you get what you get today. But I really liked kind of season of life. And I chose Artist Decoded Tarot because I am truly an artist. I am in the process of, sort of getting to know this new reinvention of myself. And it's been a journey. And I like the idea, I guess what drew me to this was I like the idea that as an artist and a creator, I literally can, put pen to paper and create a new version of myself at any one given time. And it's very similar to what we talk about and how we refer to manifestation here. The universe is a tool. It's not a being necessarily. It's an energy. It's a force. It's a tool that is basically programmed to listen to your thoughts that are connected to a feeling and to bring you what it determines that you want based on that information. It's plug and play. And we don't always recognize that because sometimes we can, fall prey to our feelings and emotions, and we don't understand all the time how much we are actually in control of our own destiny and control of the experiences that we have. And so I love this deck because it is the artist's rendition or an artistic approach to the human journey. I love that some of these images, or some of these beings don't have faces, because it's not about the face. It's about you being able to put yourself into this story. You know, I'm putting myself into this Nine of Cups. I am envisioning myself sitting in the chair, you know, with all of these cups around me and the yellow curtain, and how am I feeling in that? What information am I getting, you know, around that? Here I am, the Four of Cups. I'm envisioning myself, you know, sitting under this tree, looking at all of these four cups. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling about in this moment? You know, when I'm looking at the colors, it feels like it's sort of a dusk kind of energy here. Four of Wands, you know, there's definitely a lot more color in this palette. And, you know, there are a number of people here. Which one am I feeling into today? I feel like this deck is in many ways assisting me to work on who I'm really wanting to become. And it's allowing me to do that work in the imagination space before I actually put it into full-blown manifestation. And I think that's really important. It's something that we all need to recognize that we have the power to do, so that we're not manifesting things that we really don't want. But there is a place where we can, you know, be in the imagination station to determine what is going to work for us and what isn't, so that we can then say, okay, so I really like this, so I'm going to attach some feeling and emotion to it. And in attaching the feeling and the emotion to it, now I'm being intentional about saying to the universe, yes, I want to have this experience. And so I feel very much that this is a deck that basically allows me to do this. Take a look at this Fool card. Like, who am I? Who are you when you're stepping into this deck? Who are you when you are looking into all of this? Like, this deck is going to allow you to play so that you can then, it's like the dress rehearsal before the opening night. That's what I feel this deck is about. But it also helps you with predictions, you know, connecting to what is going to light your fire and float your boat, and what is going to come your way as a result of how you are stepping in and experiencing, you know, each of the stories that this card provides. So yeah, that is the season of life that we are in. And then finally, I have here predictive readings, and I forgot to grab that one. Give me a second. Oh no, I've got it right here. Sorry, my bad. Okay, so I actually chose 2 for this. I could have chose 4, but I decided to, you know, keep this down to a dull roar as much as possible. So the cards that I use for predictive readings, you'd be kind of surprised. So the first one that I chose is the Tarot of the Holy Spectrum. And I featured this, this is James Voorhees. I featured this on my channel before. This is a card deck that I have an interesting relationship with. And I would say that this relationship is the kind of relationship you have with a beloved, trusted mentor that can give you loving guidance and supportive guidance, and also lovingly kick your ass when you need it. And that's what this deck does. And so when I am looking to predict something in the future for myself or for others, I mean, I can pull any deck for anyone else, tuning into them and get predictive information. So I'm focusing here like for myself, because you guys probably know it's a lot harder to do predictions for ourselves when we're pulling our own cards, just because we're so close to it, right? We're too close to it. But this deck kind of breaks through those barriers and really lets me know, okay, here's how this is going to play out. It helps me with images of what I might be seeing, feeling, looking for, things to look for, symbols to look for. But I feel like it also tells its own story, tells its own tale, and not always in gentle ways. And for me, and that's what I feel kind of is the most important part of me choosing this deck as a predictive deck, because it's not going to tell me what I want to hear. It's going to tell me what I need to hear. It's going to show me what I absolutely need to see. So yeah, that's why I have gone with Tarot of the Holy Spectrum as deck 1. And then deck 2 for predictions, I went with one of my absolute favorites by Noah Akita, Heavenly Bloom Tarot. This is a US Games. I love that the cards are a little longer, something a little bit different, which, I love that. Anything that, is a bit unique and stands out. It's beautifully gilded in a beautiful sort of a soft rose, soft pink. And in terms of predictions, I find that this deck carries a surprising amount of depth and weight to its messages because of all the colors. Like whenever I pull the King of Cups, we don't often think fall when we're thinking water element, but yet King of Cups, you're thinking Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer, and some of that can be, fall season or changing things, the flexibility of things. The Star card, she's in a cave. And so like each of these images, I feel like when you pull this out for prediction and you're asking the right information or asking the right question, your eye is automatically drawn to an area of the deck that leads you into a deeper review of the image itself. So, and a lot of people, like, for example, here, the Two of Swords, the head is masked. You know that there's a female figure under there, but the head is masked. So it gets you wondering, okay, so who's behind the mask? And when you ask that question, okay, who's behind the mask? You get an image in your mind, or I might hear something, or I just have a feeling about the person that actually represents in my real life. And that's where, a lot of times the prediction comes into play. Also, I find that the journey that each of these figures take often mirrors the things that I'm going through at that particular time. This one here, 5 of Laurels, Laurels as Pentacles in this deck. There's color behind her, but she's all in gray. And so often when I get this coming up, it's okay, what are the gray areas of my life that I need to explore? When I ask that question, or I ask, why is she all in gray? What's the imagery that comes into my mind? What's the message I receive? That's the prediction. And that doesn't always happen, I want to say, for me personally, when I'm reading for myself with every card deck, but it definitely does happen with this card deck. And I think a lot of it is it inspires or invokes the right questions. Sometimes I can pull a card deck out and it inspires no questions. It's more like I'm just looking at the story and trying to figure out the message or the meaning. This one invokes questions or evokes questions. And it's those questions that then open my, sort of my intuitive channel up. And that's when I start to receive the information for myself. And I don't have to be so close to it. So yeah, so these are my tarot tag choices. Let me just grab this. Sorry, because Mr. Neo moved everything. Now all of my stuff is a shamble. So this is my tarot identity. And as always, guys, it is such joy and such fun for me to share this with you all.